Hello, Earth Angel, and welcome to episode 36 of the Devotional Drip, where we are going to be exploring your heart as a divine translator with wings. We welcome an Aquarius season this week and an Aquarius new moon. So I am rocking it out with some rose-colored glasses, calling in the frequency of the heart. Aquarius is an air sign, and the heart chakra is connected to the element of air. So I wanted to bring a little bit of that in with my glamour magic today. And then this sweet little wizard in my community who just turned 7 years old, he is a Scorpio king, made me this beautiful necklace for my birthday. And I also thought it was really fun to just welcome in this individual, wild, fun, freaky energy of Aquarius and the season upon us. And I'm so excited to explore that with you today. So if you're joining us live, please say hello in the chat. If you're joining us on the replay, we would love to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? How are you doing today? What's on your heart? We are still in the middle of Mercury retrograde, and as this is being recorded, we're still in Capricorn season, and we're at the tail end of that. So I'm going to be prompting us today around some of the lessons that we may have received from Capricorn season so that we can integrate and meet those lessons as blessings and then enter into this energy of Aquarius with our heart open and available and receptive to receive the messages that are here for us to help us tend to the shoots of new earth that we are all stewarding as light workers and earth angels and magical people who are willing to be channels and divine translators for the codes of light and love that are ready to hit planet Earth and truth. We have Jamie in the comments. Hi, Jamie. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we are in Your Heart is a Divine Translator with Wings, and I'm excited to be exploring this on the drip and also in our Blood, Bone, and Honey Pot membership classes this week. So if you've never joined us on the drip, just a little intro. The drip is a weekly personal development and higher self-embodiment coaching series to support creatives, leaders, visionaries, and light workers on their nonlinear journeys and devotional paths of healing, awakening, empowerment, radical self-care, and revolutionary self-love to support self-realization in relationship to themselves, their journey, the world, and their purpose work. If we have not had the pleasure of meeting, please reach out, send me an email, comment on this video, send me a DM on Instagram, especially if you're in the membership. I would love to connect with you. My name is Sarah. I'm a spiritual and somatic coach, creative consultant, photo witch, filmmaker, dancer, multidisciplinary artist, devoted mystic, and higher self-embodiment doula, supporting visionary entrepreneurs, change-making creatives, and heart-based leaders through somatic, artful, playful, and sensual practices and portals into self-care that hits the spot. Empowered self-healing, sovereign self-leadership, trauma-informed spiritual awakening, multi-dimensional self-expression, which we'll be talking about today as we welcome in Aquarius, and higher self-embodiment. If you find this transmission supportive, please like and comment with your biggest takeaways and revelations, and subscribe to the Blood, Bone, and Honey YouTube channel so that you never miss a drip, and you'll actually be notified every time that we go live right to your email inbox. So that's a nice way to stay in the flow with us. Following this drip, I'll invite those of you who are in the Blood, Bone, and Honey Pot membership to join me for a corresponding higher self meditation to support you in integrating, digesting, and applying what you received today in this drip. And you can go to patreon.com/blood, bone, and honey to explore our membership tiers and join us in our meditation. So if you're watching this right now, whether it be live or on the replay, and you're like, whoa, this hit in the spot where my soul was kind of itching for some nourishment, and you want to take what comes through on this drip and integrate it through meditation practice, mindfulness practice, breath work, visualization, somatic movement, yoga, dance, restorative yoga. We're offering classes weekly in the Blood, Bone, and Honey Pot to take whatever it is that comes forward on this drip and then work it into our bodies, work it into the soma, so that every week we're integrating new lessons, new blessings, and journeying to new territories categories within ourselves. We have a corresponding weekly yoga dance class, a restorative yoga class, and a mind body centering chakra flow every week. We also have a private Discord community and all of the somatic movement prompts, journal prompts, and playlists that we work with, as well as a living practice library of pre-recorded movement and meditation practices to inspire your daily self-care and spiritual practice. And just one note on this, I've been coaching privately since 2019, and something that I've seen in hundreds, approaching thousands of sessions and questionnaires and hours of sitting with light workers like you, what I've noticed in those spaces is that there's this epidemic of self-care that doesn't actually hit the spot within us, like this topical self-care that capitalism and patriarchy and the commodification of our healing and social media feeds us, versus taking care of ourselves in a way that is radical and revolutionary and playful and fun and spiritual, and also at times deep and metamorphic and brings us to our knees in full self-realization through pouring out grief and resistance and anger to let in light and breath and love and new ideas and new potential and new stories. So that's what we're into in the Blood, Bone, and Honey Pot. And if that sounds interesting to you, we've got 28 members currently in the Blood, Bone, and Honey Pot, and we would love to have you join us. Hi, Des. Welcome. Okay, so let's get into our transmission today for our heart as a divine translator with wings. So on Friday, we welcome in Aquarius season, January 20th, with an Aquarius new moon on Saturday, January 21st. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, and in astrology, the zodiac signs are divided into three categories called qualities or modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. The modalities are one way to help us understand each sign's sort of vibe, and the four fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and our dear Aquarius. The mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, and the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Fixed signs fall in the middle of a season. So Taurus is in the middle of spring, Leo is in the middle of summer, Scorpio is in the middle of fall, and Aquarius is in the middle of winter. So it makes sense that these fixed signs serve as the stabilizers and pillars of the zodiac. These fixed signs, as they're in the middle of the season, they also correspond to the midway point of each season and the celebrations that correspond with the wheel of the year. So coming up at the start of February, we have our midwinter marking, which is the celebration of Imbolc. We'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. So fixed signs fall in the middle of the season, and then they also hold this reliable and rooted energy. So in the middle of, the midwinter and coming out of what can feel like a very Saturnian dominated January, where we are just, again, brought to our knees in sort of that like deep cry, release, humbling, clearing. We have Aquarius coming in, putting their stake in the ground, saying like, okay, baby, you might be grieving. You might be going through things. You might be changing so fast you can't even keep up with yourself. But remember yourself as the beloved, last episode of the Devotional Drip. And remember that you are unique and you hold your own code like a divine little snowflake. You hold this divine blueprint. And even in the midst of what may feel like a storm, you can anchor down into your higher self expression and higher self identity and shine and co-create from that space within you, regardless of what's going on outside of you. It's like you could be standing in front of a pile of rubble and shit of trauma that's getting transmuted, and Aquarius puts on their rose-colored glasses and their fun necklace and their stripes, and they get out there and they get stoked to meet that energy because they understand that it's part of creating something bigger. They're like, oh, there's the compost. I'm going to get lit on the fact that this is the compost that I'm being invited to work with, and also specifically that this is my compost. This is my work that I get to do. So in addition to Capricorn, maybe bringing us into some fierce, intense, humbling, sobering self-realizations. We then have Aquarius, which is an air sign, and the heart chakra is governed by air. So we have Aquarius coming in to bring us levity so that we can take all of this compost and we can take all of these seeds and we can work with it to grow what it is that our heart desires. So I want to talk about the fixed signs as this invitation to not dig our heels into the ground, but feel our feet on the ground. And what's true about physics is the more we go down and bend our knees, the higher we can go up and jump, right? So Aquarius is an air sign, but it's also a fixed sign. So it says ground into your feet, ground into your body, ground into your heart so that you can take flight, going down to go up. And then in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in midwinter. We've been talking about the seeds dreaming. And this not necessarily, even though it's a new moon, not necessarily being the time to plant the big seeds that were then growing between the new moon and the full moon, the new moon and the full moon. That's more of an energy of like spring and summer. Right now, we are continually being invited to rinse and wash our intentions, our desires, our seeds, and dream with them in the soil. And I notice for myself in Capricorn season, moving into Aquarius season, that there can almost be this propensity to self-gaslight for not moving fast enough, because capitalism is like, new year, new you, what's your goals? What's your vision? What's your word? What are you doing? Where are you going? But our bodies and the animal inside of us and the earth that we are is like, yo, it is midwinter. Like literally I'm looking outside and there's just ice covering the trees. And maybe you don't have that seasonal symbology in front of your eyes, but it's still energetically present. There's still a huge part of the Northern Hemisphere that's frozen and gestating and underground and in the soil. And what a fun time to experiment and explore our individualism, our individual imprint, our individual essence, so that we can co-create with our community from an inner unity with our essence. And we need this time. We need these 3 months to like be in the soil and dream and bask and discover and uncover without feeling like we need to rise and fight and climb, because that's not where we're at right now. We have Terrell in the comments saying, I just wanted to say a quick hi. Speaking of playful and fun, me and my friend are about to adventure for my art exercise. We're also going to do animal transformations. I am a geek. So am I, Terrell. And so is the energy of Aquarius. That's so exciting. Thank you for saying hi and sharing. So fixed signs hold a reliable and a rooted energy, but just as everything has a shadow side, fixed signs can also bring a stubborn energy. So instead of feet planted on the ground, rooting into the energy that's here for us to work with and getting excited about it, there can almost be like a digging the heels into the ground and then creating a stop or a blockage. And what I find when that energy is present, it's usually because there's like an ego-driven energy versus a heart-driven energy. And the ego is only ever going to act in alignment with how it's been programmed so far. So if we're moving just purely from ego, our actions and how we live our lives is almost going to show up as this like repetitive, cyclical energy. And we might even be having more of that right now because Mercury is in retrograde and it brings us back to show us what we didn't yet bask in love, to integrate into our bodies and move forward with as an integrated self. So inside of this energy, if there is sort of old patterns from the past, old identities and old stories coming up that then produce a sensation in the body, like the thought or the story physically makes you stop breathing or makes you feel stuck or collapsed, that's how you know you're sort of like getting in the webbing of the fixed energy sign, and you're being invited to open and move from a new story, move from a new breath, move from a new idea. I have found a lot of old money stories coming up for me from Capricorn season, and it's like there's stories coming up that I thought or I even maybe have worked on, right? But like there's and not just in relationship to money, there's always stuff coming up, right? But that's just an example of one thing that I've been working with recently in my practice. And it's like, oh man, I thought I got that. I thought I healed that. I thought I met that. I thought I restored that. And the gift of Mercury retrograde and the gift of sort of this intense energy of like the winter, Capricorn into Aquarius, like this is not the most easy peasy breezy part of the zodiac sign, at least for me. Maybe you have a different experience, and please share your wisdom in the comments if you do. But inside of this, it's sort of like, okay, I'm not gonna judge myself for what's coming forward. I'm going to, as a divine parent, as the beloved, meet this and say, all right, let's take this for another round around the carousel. And where can I bring more of my heart into this story? Where is this story lacking heart? Where is this story that's making me feel blocked, lacking levity? Where is this story lacking breath? Where is this story lacking air? Where is this story lacking love? So, if you feel that sense of stubbornness, digging my heels into the ground, I can't move, nothing is working. Today, we're going to be talking about the heart as a divine translator with wings and how we can resource the energy of our heart to move through some of those blockages. So, if you haven't already, grab a journal, grab a pen, and as I'm offering what's coming through the channel, make some notes about what is resonating for you. Or maybe I say something and you get a download about something totally different. Or I'm talking about my own money stories and you have something come up for you. Record what it is that you find, because that is all divine, relevant information that is moving through your channel to support you. I'm going to take off my glasses because this fire is heating me up. Okay, so Aquarius is an air sign connected to communication, connectivity, and also the future. I also find with Aquarius, there's this texture specifically of the ancient future. So fixed signs are also concerned with tradition. So there's this ancient element of Aquarius, but then they're also future driven. So I find within Aquarius season that there can be a lot of activating of almost like connection to past lives and ancient civilizations, where maybe you were doing a version of what your soul and purpose work is now at that time. And because Aquarius is so connected to individual expression, to then co-create with the entire community, inner unity, to then co-create in community, this can be a really powerful moment to almost like retrieve and reclaim that you are ancient. You have wisdom that is so important to anchor into your body, to anchor into your heart at this time, because Aquarius says, shine it into this now moment so that what we're building from this moment forward can also be rooted, can also be fixed in a lineage, in a tradition. So I'm thinking about also technology, because Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus, which is a rebellious planet that governs innovation and technology and surprising events. Uranus is actually also the only planet that spins on its side, mirroring this colorful personality of Aquarius as they march to the beat of their own drum. Very much so, Aquarius is known as being otherworldly and unconventional, and almost can have this like projection of being detached, but really they're just so concerned with like who it is that they are and what it is that they're here to create, that they're in the lab so that they can take that research and bring it to the collective. So at this time, how are you being called to climb into the heart lab, to resource your own higher self identity, your higher self expression, your higher self codes, so that you can bring that to the community space? And you are as essential as every other member of that circle. Aquarius is also interested in the exchange of codes. So if each of us are in our self-realization practice, and if each of us are devoted to embodying our sovereignty, then we're all going to take that individual work, that individual expression, and we're going to bring that to the community space. And not only are we going to be able to exchange codes, but then there's a deeper layer of healing that can happen. There's also this energy of exchanging codes with Aquarius where you might be receiving a lot of new information at this time from the community that then also pours back into your individual practice. So there's this like inner to outer and then outer to inner energy of Aquarius. And what does that mirror? The diaphragm, the breath, air, wings, opening to receive, integrating, opening to receive, expressing, giving and then receiving and then giving. So that's a lot of the movement we're going to be working with this week. Opening, closing, giving, receiving. What's the difference? Because I also think Aquarius invites us to know the difference. Like, when are we in our own individual sovereign space? And what do we need from that space versus what do we need at the collective community level? So Aquarius is an air sign connected to communication, community, connectivity, and the ancient future. So we're also receiving a levity and a boost towards how we can create that and with whom we are being called to do that with. I think that this year is going to be a huge year for collaboration and co-creation. So if in the next month you're receiving some big hits about certain people to reach out to and plan projects with for 2023, take that invitation. That is your heart as a divine translator giving you the hit, giving you the message, claiming that this is not random. This ping that I'm getting to reach out to this person or to send that person an email or whatever, that is divinely delivered. I have like 25 of those coming in for me right now, and we haven't even shifted into Aquarius yet. We have Jamie Regeneration Witch here saying, yes, so much old programming and old stories surfacing lately. Oh my gosh, same, Jamie. And like, thank goodness we know we are in our knowing that we get to be alchemists and translators and transmuters. We're going to talk about the heart specifically as like a space for that today. But whenever like the old shit comes up, what I'm trying to like train my nervous system to default to is like gratitude. Not that the story is coming up specifically, but gratitude that I have skills to meet that story and transform it into something new. And I'm doing my best when that comes up instead of rooting down and digging my heels into the story and getting in some victimhood about it and really just like collapsing in it. I'm really trying to like meet that with my heart and meet that with levity and meet that with breath and meet that with, all right, well, I guess it's time for another alchemical energy experiment. And I think the beautiful part about that too is we also build skillfulness with that over time. Not necessarily like this energy of like, oh, it becomes easier with practice, but it changes and it deepens. Would love to hear some of your wisdom on that because I know you're a deep alchemy witch. Terrell says, I'm trying to find your email in my mailbox, having a hard time finding it. Need to send you a quick email. Terrell, my email is Sarah with an H at bloodboneandhoney.com. Okay, so Aquarius, we talked about it being ruled by Uranus, the planet that governs information, innovation, technology, and surprising events. And Uranus also, again, is the only planet that spins on its side. So that is showing us that like Aquarius comes in to almost like turn ourselves like this so that we can see things from a new perspective. Like, what can I see from flying underneath that I wasn't able to see before? And then turning on the other side, what am I able to see from this side that I wasn't able to see before? And then maybe I need to fly up from the top and look down. What am I able to see that I wasn't able to see before? And what's amazing about the heart is that it's this geometric 8-sided object that's just sort of seated inside of us, nestled between our lungs, held in our ribs, and seated at the center of us, guiding us like the transmission on our car, on our vehicle, saying go this way, go that way, go left, go right, and almost maybe even more than transmission, a transmitter and a steering wheel. So Uranus is like this, Aquarius is an air sign, air is connected to the heart. So we're going to be invited to scoop around, go around the heart, look under here, look up here, and it's going to ask us, especially with this Mercury retrograde energy, which I think ends January 29th, but I'm not exactly sure on that. There's this like, okay, what can I see now that I wasn't able to see before with the consciousness that I have already been cultivating? I'm almost getting this like putting our intuition to the test. Um, Using what it is that we've been gathering and cultivating, and now sort of pressing the go button on that and seeing how it goes. I've also been getting this psychic invitation to see like Aquarius with the air sign, and like air being connected to balance as well. Like, where can I establish balance? And if I do that, can I hold more things up at once? Like, I'm thinking about, oh, I already put wood in the fire. I'm thinking about carrying in wood from our wood stack for the wood pile. And there's this beautiful way that if I balance wood on both of my arms, I'm actually able to carry more in at once than if I was just trying to hold it all on one side and be lopsided. So where is this energy calling you into balance? Maybe you've been pouring into one area of your life like really strongly, and now there's almost this reorientation that you're being invited into, because with that airy quality, like it's always going to bring perspective. It's always going to invite us to fly to a new branch to see that same situation from. So if Mercury retrograde is bringing up some kind of like reoccurring something, then Aquarius says, aha, let me come in to bring some air, bring some levity, remind you of who you are, put on the colors, get freaky, get weird, get wild, break out of the box, break out of convention. And when you do all of that and then you fly up to this branch, how does this same situation look completely different? That's our magical practice, right? There can be a story or a situation that is reoccurring, that has been there forever, a pattern, a neural pathway, a relationship pattern, and it's right there in front of us. And through the heart, with the quality of air, we remember that we have wings and we can fly around and we can see things from new perspectives, but also we can receive messages and wisdom on what it is that we're meeting from a place inside of us that, like, what I want to say is sometimes a lot of times this wisdom comes forward and it's like, whoa, I've never even thought that thought before. Like, when I tune into my heart and I call on the voice of my higher self to speak through it, like, I will receive divine solutions, creative ideas, suggestions, wisdom that I've literally never heard before, never spoken out loud. And it's not me, it's not human Sarah. It is me knowing that I am connected to the source of all creation. So if that's true, then there must be an expression of my atomic body, which I call the higher self, that is also receiving those transmissions. And then that atomic self that is part of the physical human soma body, well, pouring into the subtle bodies and energy bodies first, and then from the subtle bodies and the energy bodies, the physical manifestation is coming into form. But to know, to claim that we can reach that far inside, to pull up something that the human self has never been bathed before. I mean, talk about healing backwards and forwards in your lineage. Like, you call up that voice from the higher self, and sometimes you might hear that moan of an ancestor 2,000 years ago within you, releasing some gripping in your hips or some gripping at the back of the heart, because we are a culmination of our ancestors, right? So when we heal the lineage. And then Aquarius, ancient future, concerned with also moving forward and what are we creating and how are we each tending to these shoots of new earth that are coming up, whether it be in our family unit or in our community unit, or maybe we have a business or a way that we're showing up in the world. Aquarius says, tend to yourself so that you can tend to your shoots, so that you can tend to your purpose. And remember that you are so unique, you are so divine, you are so wild and freaky and multidimensional that you can receive information through the transmitter of your heart that your human mind and ego and lineage may have never been basked in before. Because we're in an evolution of human consciousness, right? I was just doing a little reading with two of my sisters who visited last week for my birthday from one of my favorite books ever called The Great Cosmic Mother. And inside of this book, it talks about the way that there was this inherent distrust in the feminine from the masculine because, the feminine, they can conceive babies, they can bleed, they can birth. How is that happening? And so there's this like original seed of distrust that got planted between the masculine and the feminine. And then I'm not going to go into like a whole sort of historical context of like the rise of patriarchy in the state and women's bodies becoming machines and all of that. But you can tune into the Blood Bone and Honey Pot and also upcoming courses for that kind of radical mystical feminist theory. But I just want to point to this sort of like this initial distrust of the feminine. And that's not just women. We're talking about the feminine principle of creation, this confusion, this curiosity about birth and blood and where it comes from. And like, how can these bodies just conceive these babies and birth them? Like thinking about that consciousness getting introduced to the planet for the first time. And now we see ourselves 2,000 years after the formation of the state, sort of still in that distrust of the feminine, distrust of creation, distrust of the current that flows through us, distrust of the mother, distrust of our masculine is an extension of the feminine. And so we see all of this masculine patriarchal dominance and sort of hate and distrust and desire to control the feminine on the planet right now. And I've been recently meditating on how patriarchy is connected to this rejection of the mother and rejection of the feminine, not just in the feminine beings and women outside of men or the masculine, but also inside of each of us, because each of us hold the feminine principle. So if someone is rejecting the feminine externally or trying to control it, it is a manifestation of their own rejection of their connection to the mother, of their connection to the feminine, and the way that they also came from a womb, from the blood, from the body. So without going too much off into mystical feminist theologian outer space, which Aquarius does invite us into, I just want to bring this back to say, if there's this distrust of your unique code, of the flow of creation within you, of your connection to creation, of your connection to source, of your connection to a holy mother, that is a collective consciousness experience that we are each in the energy of Aquarius being invited to individually transmute so that we can then give our individual transmuted imprint into the collective field. And when we do that, we raise the vibration and consciousness starts shifting as a whole. Like, that's how powerful we are. Jamie says Mercury retrograde ends January 18th. Goddess bless. Thank you, Jamie. So we've only got 2 more days of this. But then there also is the integration period, right? It's 11:08 on the clock right now too, which is interesting. So we have this integration period after Mercury retrograde. That's also like, okay, what'd you learn? How are you going to implement? What are you going to integrate after everything that came forward? So we haven't even pulled cards yet. We want to get into that. And I want to end this part of the transmission saying that in order to breathe forward into the ancient future, it is going to require us all, women, men, non-binary, people on planet Earth, to reclaim the essence of the mother within us, the feminine within us, each of our connection to that, how we come from that as a part of our multidimensional expression. But there's a very specific rejection of that consciousness that I really believe keeps all humans on planet Earth like blocked, disconnected, disoriented, confused. And then we have all of this like God as the father as the center, the man as the breadwinner, the father and the man as the one, another fucking man being nominated to be the fucking president. Like, how embarrassing is it that there's never been a female president of the United States? You know, like, how representative of this hate, of this distrust, of this rejection of the mystery that goes so deep. And then, I mean, don't even get me into the institution of birth and the way that women are so fucking, and birthing people are so fucking disempowered within the institution, and the medical industrial complex and money-making system of birth, and disempowered and told they need to be induced and have themselves sliced open and take all these drugs in order to birth their babies. And also, of course, we are grateful. The flip side of that, always a balance, right? The duality. We are grateful for modern medicine, for hospitals, for doctors, for spaces. It's not, none of these conversations are fixed. They are mutable. They are nuanced. And I think Aquarius also calls us into that energy of like, we don't need to belong to a club or a camp or have a specific political ideology or belong to a specific group with a specific name in order to belong. 1111 on the clock. And we can hold the complex reality of like, this shit's fucked up. And also, wow, we're grateful that this has been created. I often feel that way about technology. I'm like, wow. The way that TikTok and Instagram Reels are changing our brains is alarming. And I'm so grateful for the capacity to connect with light workers across planet Earth. And I love technology. And it's been such a huge support for me in my purpose work and in my business and in my personal evolution, finding other teachers and mentors and taking their courses and hopping on their YouTube channels. So may we hold the nuance in Aquarius season as we birth the ancient future. May we, in the energy of this fixed sign, remember that we are mutable, no matter what's going on astrologically. And at this time, as we create the ancient future, we do need to look to the roots. We do need to understand patriarchy and capitalism and the way that these systems and structures of oppression got created, not just from an infographic on Instagram. We need to like look and tune in and research and find and understand and allow ourselves to come to new conclusions and points of understanding so that we don't stay disoriented, confused, disconnected, wondering in sort of the questioning of why, or the complete collapse of like the grief and the sadness and the anger and the rage that can come up about all these systems existing in the first place. I know I can find myself really getting stuck there and almost like overindulging in the sacred rage. And then I feel like my heels are digging into the ground and I feel like I can't move. Aquarius says, let that energy inspire you to put your feet on the ground, but also lift the wings of your heart to arrive at new conclusions, to arrive at new perspectives, to understand the root of something so that you can exchange and share that information in your life. And I'm seeing the mycelium consciousness and like sort of the different nodes of trees in a forest and the way that there's always this exchange of information and resource. So, did not plan to go into all of that today, but thank you, Aquarius, for your freaky energy. Anything else I want to say about Aquarius? Okay, before we go into our card pull, I want to say this last thing. So every zodiac sign is also ruled by a tarot card in the major arcana. The zodiac sign of Aquarius is ruled by the star card. Aquarius is often misunderstood for being sort of like aloof or detached, but it's more likely that they are invested in their own thinking, because they're considered a humanitarian sign. So they are thinking, they are reflecting, they are thinking about the larger picture and the larger well-being of humanity, which I think is why all this stuff is coming out about like the root of patriarchy and how like the systems of oppression that exist right now are also connected so deeply to roots. Like they're not random. It didn't start in the 1950s. Like we're talking about like thousands of years of the evolution of human consciousness and how we've arrived at this place and how now in the age of Aquarius with this Aquarius season, reason we're being invited to evolve in consciousness. Each of us individually, our eyes on our own paper, head down. Again, that energy can kind of come off as aloof, but they're devoted. Aquarius is watching. Aquarius is concerned because they're going to bring whatever they find in their research out into the collective field. So that's where we're being invited. Then with this star card, Aquarius can be referred to as the water bearer, which can confuse people in thinking that Aquarius is a water sign because it's referred to as the water bearer. But as we have talked about today, it is an air sign, but it's called a water bearer because it's also connected to the star card, which features a woman pouring water into a body of water and into the earth, providing nourishment. And here's the big one, restoring hope for the future. She has one foot in the water, symbolizing intuition and connection to that. And I'm also getting how you can read all the theory and find all the history books, but some of this information about how we arrived at where we are now, which is important to understand so that we can move forward and make different choices, is going to come from intuition. Some of this knowing is not going to be found in a book. Some of this knowing is only going to be found through putting your foot in the water, literally and proverbially and metaphorically, and calling that information up from within you, because you were there. Your ancestors were there. They know. And there's information that can be transmitted to you through the heart, which is the ultimate realm of the ancestors. So she has one foot in the water, symbolizing intuition, and one foot on land, symbolizing stability. So we're digging into the intuition. We're calling up the codes. We're nourishing ourselves. We're resourcing ourselves. We're remembering our connection to the water. We're remembering our connection to the feminine principle. We're remembering our connection to the energy of creation. And then we're also remembering that we're here on planet Earth to get some shit done, and to be here and to be an active agent of change, and then to take what we receive from that foot in the water, translate it to that other foot on land, and be the hands and the feet and the hearts of the divine, to be the soldiers of Goddess. So this echoes the same duality in Aquarius, which that's kind of also come forward a lot today, like this duality, right? Like when I was talking about birth as being a part of the medical industrial complex, which like objectively it is, you can just research it. Or I know we have a lot of doulas here who are like, girl, I already know. And also amazing that we have modern medicine, right? So it's the duality. Can we hold both? Can we hold both? So this echoes the same duality in Aquarius, which is the only zodiac sign represented by two astrological elements, sort of, right? Like Aquarius is an air sign, but then it's also connected to the water and creation and breathing forward and creating new things. The star symbolizes the card's overarching message of guidance, hope, and inspiration. Aquarius is not interested in blending in with the crowd. And this is illustrated by the large yellow star. You can Google an image of the star card in the major arcana that is set apart from the others. While external guidance is appreciated, Aquarius has a strong connection to their own intuition and will listen to that internal voice above all others. Which brings us to your heart is a divine translator with wings. I'm going to do a little poll for us today from this beautiful zine that I picked up at one of my favorite oracle shops in Brooklyn called Catland Books many, many moons ago. And there's a spread in here called The Wild Heart Spread by Claire Burgess. You can look up her work. And this is a 7-card spread. And we'll see, there might be more than 7 cards that come forward. I always offer 7 prompts on the devotional drip. I'm going to link these prompts in the description of the replay, and then I'll read them out to you as we go through them today. Please feel free to pull cards along with me. So maybe I am pulling collective cards and then you're pulling like a clarifying card for you. Like, okay, this Sarah's speaking to a collective energy. And then for me, what's my individual Aquarius translation of this? What's my unique flair? How do I need to take this message and make it mine? And then in our meditation, we're going to really work with the heart as a divine translator and receive some messages today, remembering that it has wings. And if you'd like to join us in that, you can go to Blood, Bone, and Honey or patreon.com/Blood, Bone, and Honey, sign up for one of the tiers, and the higher self meditation is included in all of our tiers. So if you're inspired and want to join us there, we're going to actually go into the heart in that meditation and receive what's there for us today. So our first prompt in this wild heart spread, this is fun because typically I channel the questions for the polls, but this morning I was like, I think I want to reach back ancient future style and reach in community style and pull out something from my archives, and then also bring in the energy of like another light worker who channeled this beautiful thing, and then let her unique channel work in alignment with my unique channel, and then that's working in alignment with your unique channel as you're also pulling, and we'll see what we co-create together. Nobody as the authority, everyone as their own guide, their own teacher, their own highest mentor. Because we are our higher selves, mentoring and stewarding our human consciousness into a self-realized state, into a higher self-realized state where our ego and our identity and our self-concept and the stories of our subconscious mind are aligning with the truth of our multidimensional divine source expression. And also, again, Aquarius with duality, understanding that we are these very real creatures. Like, we are humans, we are of the earth, we are animals. And there is this dance that we're invited to do where we're merging our humanity and our earth self and our animal self with our divinity. And then at the same time, Gaia, planet Earth, is getting all of these light codes as well. And she is ascending too. So it's like the mother is ascending and all of her children are ascending in alignment. And the ancient proverb, let go or be dragged, really rings true in this moment, because there is almost this like ruthless energy of like, you can either keep creating in alignment with fate, or you can choose your divine destiny. And fate has no business in higher self-embodiment. We're interested in infinite timelines. We're interested in destiny. We're interested with what has not yet been written. The rest is still unwritten. Calling in a little Natasha Bedingfield. Okay, maybe we'll dance to that this week. Oh, hello, Wiggins. Would you like to come and be a part of this? You come here. Come here. You can come over here. Come on. Come on, Boo Bear. He wants to be on camera. He's like, I want to be here too. So as I'm pulling these cards, please feel free to drop into the comments and let me know if there's a card that you pull that resonates. If there's something you want to add to this collective transmission today, we can all practice sitting in the circle together. I'm going to use my new deck that I got as a birthday present, the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell, and the artwork is by Danielle Noel. I've purchased this deck and gifted this deck to many people in my life, but I have never received this deck, and I've been calling it in. So I'm feeling really excited to work with it today. Shout out to Caroline Aylward of Get a Helmet for this beautiful birthday gift. And let's see what comes through. So our first card is for the Lion. Again, this is called the Wild Heart Spread by Claire Burgess. So the Lion, the inner beast that you've recently faced. The inner beast that you've recently faced. Let's get a little activation of some sacred plant energy in our space. Feel free to light some incense, take a breath, root in. You can call the energy of your higher self into your heart, and then see that energy as this light that infinitely reaches in all directions. So in all 6 directions, north, east, south, west, and then also inward, below, and above. So this light is radiating out in all directions, and you are calling in information from this higher self field, while simultaneously just asking any energy that isn't you and isn't here to serve your highest good to just leave your sovereign space of light at this time, so that you are like Aquarius, seated in your individual higher self expression and calling in information from that space. So if there's anyone else's energy in your field, you can just see the energy of your heart just breaking that up, and rinsing it out, almost like you open the windows in the house and you call in that new air, and anything that's old can just go right out the window. And that's the space that we're pulling cards from. That's the space that we channel from. That's the space that we receive our transmissions from. So coming forward, the lion, the inner beast that you've recently faced. What have all the light workers been collectively called to focus on at this time? What is this Mercury retrograde? What has this winter season been calling us to be aware of and meet with love? So I received earth pulsing, the pulse of the mother, slow down, time in nature. And then also cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. Okay, let's hold both of these cards up together. So here they are, if you want to take in these visuals. The prompt again is the lion, the inner beast that you've recently faced, if you'd like to pull that for yourself. So earth pulsing and cracked open, the pulse of the mother, slow down, time in nature, and cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. So I'm feeling the way that when we're going through transformation, we're going through metamorphosis, we're being called into a higher timeline, a higher self expression of ourselves, our destiny timeline versus the fated timelines. There can be this almost need in the recipe of alchemy to hit our own personal rock bottoms in order to then rise like the phoenix from the ashes or create from that soil, right? Like both of these cards feel like there's an energy of like drawing down, drawing in, coming into stillness, coming into like this humbled state of surrender, where sometimes I feel like the divinity within us brings our human self to our knees so that we can really, truly, actually let go of all of the resistance, all of the gripping, and all of the control, so that instead of that faded timeline showing itself, instead of us recreating more of the same, from that space of being completely empty, we're actually available to receive new codes. Or at that state of rock bottoming and being really like sobered and brought to our knees, there's also, I feel, a resilience and maybe a willingness that gets activated inside of us, where maybe that which once sounded really, really scary and we were a no to, we can actually practice now being a yes to. Like in that rock bottom state, I've found for myself, as I've hit that many a time in my journey, there's like a refreshed, again, perspective that we receive when we are not moving in the preordained, expected timeline and pace of these systems of oppression that are crumbling now. And I've talked about this before on the drip. In the Tower card, there's a back staircase. And so when you've gone through it enough times, when you've hit rock bottom enough times, and I find that earth angels and light workers specifically will get dragged down to the earth, will get humbled, will get brought to their knees, because it's that constant like regeneration that allows us to get in touch over and over again as the layers are peeled back and 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 peeled back with our true essence and our true selves and our true core and our true needs and our true desires and our true purpose. And as we're brought down and as the weightedness of the rocks slows us down as well, what happens? We see from a new perspective, just like Aquarius is inviting us into. In the energy of your heart is a divine translator and it has wings, I also feel called to remind us that it requires us to go down to go up. So maybe, what if we received the energy of any bottoming out in our life, any sort of earthing and grounding and something, I'm seeing something crumbling. What if we received that as the highest compliment, inviting us into creating and living from a more liberated state? And what if that sort of drag down of the ego is required in order to not force us to surrender to our heart, but almost it's like, I got no other options. I'm feeling blocked. I'm feeling discouraged. Everything is feeling really heavy. And sometimes I think it requires our human to go to that space in order to like actually remember and start practicing that our heart is a translator. I will find that for myself. Like sometimes I will have to go into absolute rock bottom energy in order to like actually hear that energy of my heart. And there's a sweetness, there's an innocence, there's a surrender, there's a releasing of the gripping and control that happens in that space as well. So this is pointing to an inner beast that you've recently faced. So how has this energy recently showed up in your life? Like almost this like let go or be dragged down to the earth of like the earth pulsing, the mother saying slow down, us trying to move really fast and create all the things. But then the mother and the energy of creation says no, and the blocks get knocked over and the plan gets obliterated. And it can feel like we're being cracked open. It can feel so vulnerable to like show up and create something over and over again. And then it just keeps getting knocked down. And what if this was also part of us building resilience? What if this was also part of the cultivation of our faith? So if you've recently been going through this, I know this has been true in my own life in some ways. Remember that you can tune into your heart, receive a divine message, and then fly to a new perspective in that moment of, maybe it's something going on in your business and you're feeling some frustration and resistance to try again, keep going, or whatever it is. Remember that maybe there's a new perspective you haven't tried it from yet, or maybe there's a message waiting on your heart. Maybe there's an instruction that you've never received before that's now only available to you because you let yourself crack open, because you let yourself go to that place of like vulnerable grieving is what I'm getting. I've this whole transmission, I've just seen like a being just crying on their knees, and like how holy that is. Like how holy the breakdown is, because what does it do? It often leads to the breakthrough. But that breakthrough energy requires us to resource our hearts and divine messaging. And Aquarius is not interested in going out to see what a bunch of other people are doing. Aquarius is interested in being like, all right, this is my situation right now. This is what I'm moving through. Maybe I'm going to resource some perspective from the community, but ultimately I'm interested in my foot in the water, like the star card. Ultimately, I'm interested in what my own intuition wants to guide me in around this blocked energy so that I can meet it as a portal. And the energy of resistance and stubbornness and heels in the ground and victimhood and collapsed and defeat and self-denial and self-gaslighting and self-criticism and self-judgment truly is an inner beast. It's truly an inner beast. It's a dragon that needs to be tamed. And it's a dragon that runs off the fuel of shame and guilt and fear and thinking like you need to be like everyone else or do it like everyone else or follow that launch strategy or situate your day, or organize your day like this or live your life like this or make money in this way. Aquarius says, wipe all of that from the whiteboard. You've been broken down. You've been cleared. You've been rinsed. You've been brought through it so that you can receive your own inner guidance. Like our channels need to be cleared. And I don't know about you, but I'm one of the first ones in my lineage in a while to really let that clearing happen so I can hear the voice of source in my heart. But the heart can get calcified, the heart can get hardened. And it does require that breaking up, that shaking up, cracked up energy in order to let light in. And there's a card in the Divine Feminine deck. It's the goddess Akalanda. And she speaks to this energy of like, sometimes it can feel like our hearts are breaking, but in that crack open, in what may feel like a fracture or a break, our hearts are actually being reshaped in order to embody more love, in order to embody more light, in order to embody our higher self identity, in order to receive transmissions from our higher selves. So the cracking open is just part of the deal. The transformation, the metamorphosis is just part of the deal. And I truly believe there's never going to be a time in our life where we just arrive at this fixed state of being where we no longer go through a phoenix moment. I think my personal opinion is that this whole life and this whole journey is a whole circle. You get to the end of the major arcana and then you're right back at the Fool again. And thank Goddess that we get to keep doing it again and again and again and again until we really reach that true authentic self, that true authentic voice. And we don't just do it for ourselves, we do it for our children. We do it for our community, because when we radicalize ourselves in that way, we then can pour from that radicalized, liberated, free state where we're just in flow. And it's like, all right, here's my plan. Here's what I'd like to create. Here's what I'm interested in, but I'm also not attached to it needing to look this way. And Aquarius, air, balance. I'm going to balance the action that I'm taking with the amount of time I allow myself to receive my transmissions. And I think that that dance of refinement happens over time for all of us. And as this is coming forward with this first prompt, how have you recently been invited to face this? Where recently has something been broken down, or how have you been cracked open, or almost like dragged to bring your ear and your heart to the pulse of the earth, to listen, to slow down, to receive, because how you were doing things maybe weren't working anymore? I know that that has been showing up for me, and then in some ways is still showing up, and there's an invitation to integrate. So that's also what I'm getting for this first card. It's like, yeah, this is an inner beast that we've recently faced. And also, we may still be integrating that. We may still be, maybe we faced this beast and all we've done is kind of face it and see it and recognize it and be like, whoa, I see this pattern. I see this story. Like, it's not how I want to live. It's not where I want to live from, but I also acknowledge that it's going to take time to love this beast into liberation, so that that part of me, that part of me that's representing this beast, like, trusts me. We were talking about the animal and our humanity, and how like the animal is also evolving in consciousness within us. And so that scared animal like is going to lash out and bite and draw blood and try to kill you, until it doesn't, until you face it, until you meet it with the absolute love and reverence and compassion and witness of your higher self, without judging it, without even trying to like fix it or make it different, but understand that it is part of the alchemical recipe of you self-realizing. So maybe you've just met this beast and now you're being asked, how can I love this? How can I integrate this? How can I make art and magic and healing with this? And our next question on here is the teeth. So the part of the beast that you're afraid of. So we're facing this beast, right? We're facing this beast that's cracked us open, that's inviting us to slow down. We're all facing that within ourselves right now. And it all looks unique and it all looks different. Each of our beasts as a culmination of our stories and the parts that are not yet liberated, and our fear and our shame and our guilt. You can imagine all of that kind of going into the recipe to create this creature, to create this beast. Maybe you even like draw it out in your journal as a practice of embracing it, of acknowledging it. And now there's some teeth coming forward. What's the part of the beast that like sparks some fear? And let's recognize that so that we can integrate it, which is going to be our prompt 3. So prompt 1, the lion, the inner beast that you've recently faced. Prompt 2, the teeth, the part of the beast that you're afraid of. So what are we afraid of in terms of cracking open, seeing this part of ourselves, maybe the uglier parts or the parts that we judge as ugly. And why do we judge them as ugly? Can the beast be beautiful, even in its fearful, coated in shame, guilted state? Confused state? Can we still honor that and say like, wow, that's beautiful, not because it aligns with some idealized version of beauty, but that's beautiful because that's real, and that's beautiful because I'm willing to see it. So the teeth, the part of the beast that's bringing up some fear that we're also being invited to embrace as beauty, as wildness, as part of our liberation journey. So the part of the beast that we've recently faced, I'm getting my faceted earth deck coming forward here. Anomaly. So this is interesting because I ran a course last year called the Devotional Dance Coven, and one of the stories, one of the higher self mantras that I was working with during that course was, I am an anomaly, and allowing myself to identify as unique and different, and that I would need to march to the beat of my own drum, and nobody else's strategy or plan or blah, blah, blah is going to work for me, because that's just not how I'm here to fuck with this lifetime. And I think that's true for all earth angels and all light workers and all creatives and all mystics and all entrepreneurs and all leaders, all people who really feel this call from the heart to show up and shine in their lives as a unique expression of source. Like, there is this need to claim that we are unique and our paths are unique, and it's our way is not going to look like someone else's way, and it's okay if someone else's way looks totally different than our way. Also, in terms of belief, it's also okay for us to believe something and for someone else to believe something completely different, and for that not to threaten or confront or need to change our beliefs in any way. We can each be sovereign in what it is that we believe and how we show up and how we choose to express. But this shit can be scary because we have been punished for that. Light workers, mystics, creatives, individual thinkers, we can just look around the planet right now to see how much censorship there truly is. And the way that if you're coming forward with a unique idea that doesn't sit in the mainstream, there's immediately someone in the fucking comments with some shit to say that's like, meh, 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 meh. And that can be scary. I can't tell you how many people I've done one-on-one sessions with who are light workers, who are entrepreneurs, who have been like, I'm scared to show up louder because I'm scared of being canceled, because I'm scared of being called out, because I'm scared that someone's going to like not agree with what I'm saying and challenge me and whatever. The teeth, the anomaly that we are, is inviting us to accept that sometimes we're going to need to show our teeth and set a fierce boundary. And sometimes someone else is going to show their teeth. And even in the midst of that, even in the pain of that, even in the fear of that, even in the grief of that, can we remember ourselves as the beloved, episode 35, and know that we're not here to express like anyone else is expressing. And we're not even necessarily here to like all agree with each other. Aquarius says we're all here to bring different ideas to the circle and to the table. And then when we honor our own unique wisdom and we honor our sovereignty, then when someone else across the circle says something we don't agree with, it's like, oh, that's so interesting. Look at that person coming forward in their sovereignty, in their wisdom. And it's no longer a threat to us. So the cracking open, the slowing down, the needing to go at our own pace, the needing to do it a different way, the surrendering to divine process, the doing it a way that maybe nobody else is doing it no longer resonates as teeth that are going to then sink into you and draw blood. It's like, oh, look at these teeth that are inviting me into my courageous, unique expression. I'm also thinking about the goddess Thecla from the Divine Feminine deck, who is put into a arena with a bunch of different wild beasts. She's being punished for, like, of course, showing up in her liberated magic and feminine expression and not wanting to like go along with what everyone else is doing. Like, just the classic story of mystics and creatives, right? Being like, this is who I am, and this is how I feel called to show up, and this is what I'm going to do. And then there's that archetypal story of that archetype being brought into the arena or put on the stake and being burned or tortured or killed or having wild beasts lurched at them in the case of Thekla. And you know what she does? She holds up a mudra as this like ancient beast is coming towards her. And then the ancient beast, I think it's actually a lion specifically, which is interesting because of this spread, kneels down at her feet in response to her mudra of light, which is representing her trust and her faith and her connection to the divine, knowing who she is as an anomaly, knowing that she is here to be one of God, Goddess, Source's soldiers. So there is a protection around her, just like there is around all of us, every single being on planet Earth, as we are all self-realizing that we are the same children of the same divine source. We are the same. We have a million names to talk about this energy, but we are all the same children of the same divine source, of the same divine mother, of the same divine father, of the same divine universe, of the same source energy, whatever language resonates for you. Because again, we get to all come forward with our codes and our language. I think so much of this Piscean era that we are moving out of now has been like swim like a school of fish. Everyone has to have the same thoughts and the same beliefs, and we got to swim this way. And you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, and you're this or you're that, and you're blah blah in this box or that box. And as we've been moving into this energy of the age of Aquarius, like we can just see the way that that has been so challenged and quite literally cracked open on planet Earth, right? Where's my other Earth card? She flew away. My cracked open card, but quite literally the Earth consciousness has been cracking open so that we can remember this state. And I also even like how there's like two bunnies here. This also feels like it's representing our duality, like the need to have integrated shadow and integrated light, the need for contrast in our lives, the need for that breakdown, the need for that heartbreak, because that here it is, that cracked open heartbreak actually allows our hearts to be reshaped so that they can receive higher transmissions. So it's like in the same way, a vagina really needs to expand to birth a baby. And I also just said that on YouTube, so I'm hoping that's not going to get censored. Maybe I should have spelled that out, because we are obviously addicted to control on planet Earth. YouTube, you should really figure that out. But in the same way that a birth canal literally needs to spread to let a baby out, that's going to be the same for all of us as we're birthing our higher self-expression. It might feel like you're being cracked open. And I even want to speak to this moment on the planet as kind of like this ring of fire moment, 111 on our time, where we really got to breathe through this one. You know, like, I don't know about you, but I really have to resource my practice right now to meet some of this challenging energy in my unique work. And if you relate to that, how beautiful, because then we remember ourselves as the beloved, episode 35, and we remember that we're not alone. Like, we're not the only ones feeling kind of like in a consciousness puberty, or feeling like we're being cracked open, or feeling like we're being dragged to the underworld of our own personal hell in order to self-realize. Like, that's sort of the texture of this age. That's the texture of moving from the age of Pisces, where everyone's got to swim together and all agree in order to belong and be safe. And I love Pisces. My Venus is in Pisces, so no shade on Pisces. I fucking love that energy. And I'm so excited to talk about it in the spring. And also, the shadow side of that, just like the shadow side of Aquarius, is that it can sort of be too like this and not looking enough around to kind of know that whatever it is that's being activated within them is actually part of being imprinted into the larger collective field. So we can't just stay like this. We have to open our hearts, and we have to also then let go and spread and pollinate our codes and our wisdom and what it is that we receive. Pisces can also get a little too like codependent with the shit. So then the age of Aquarius is like, okay, you're going to have to look and see where you've been codependent in your personal relationships, in your professional relationships, in the way that you show up in the world. Where do you become 1,000 different versions of yourself morph into certain situations because you're also that metamorphic, versus in order to make someone else comfortable, in order to belong, versus I'm showing up as who the fuck I am, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. And I'm going to allow myself to be rebellious, to, like Uranus, the planet of rebellion, the planet that rules Aquarius, turn on my side, flip it over, and become a new version of myself in any moment that I want. We always have the right to express not even a new version of ourselves, but a version that's always been there. We have a right to integrate that, to birth that, to weave that into being. And it might bring up some fear because it has not always been safe to do that. And for some of us, it may feel unsafe to do that at this time. There may be certain dynamics or relationships that we're in that, and I know I've certainly experienced this in my life, where we don't feel safe to be our fully expressed selves, because if we do, then that person's going to leave, or that relationship's going to end, or whatever it is. I want to just speak to, from my own integrated heartbreak, when we make that courageous decision to exit dynamics where we feel like there isn't space for us to be our fully expressed selves, there will be grieving, there will be a cracking open, there will be this invitation to meet the energy of loss and release. But what we know about the heart, or maybe what I want to introduce about the heart, is as we release and as we pour out and as we let go of what doesn't serve us and as we let that relationship just go down into the soil, there's all of these new relationships and new dynamics that are going to want to pour in response to the vibration shift that you've created through your willingness to let go. And I really do feel like let go, release, let it go coming forward at this time. And we'll really be in our practice this week, in our movement practice, in the heart around letting go. So bloodboneandhoney.com/Patreon to join us in that. So the lion, the inner beast you've recently faced, we have been facing a lot of cracking open. We've been facing a lot of being dragged down to the mother, putting our ear and our heart to her, to listen, to receive our next steps, to receive our next guidance. Maybe we've been making plans and they've been getting knocked down, and our hearts have been getting cracked open, and we felt dragged over here and then dragged over there. And inside of that, we've been reshaped, and we've seen sort of a culmination of the beast, maybe of some stories we're being invited to transmute, or some identities we're being invited to up level. And then the teeth, the part that is bringing up a little bit of fear, is how unique we are and how big our purpose work is, and how we're here to shine as multidimensional beings, and not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to get it. And that's scary, because I've certainly experienced this in my purpose work and in me allowing myself to be visible in that. There is projection, and there is judgment, and there's just stuff that comes forward. There's stuff that comes forward. When you're visible in your magic, you're going to threaten some people, you're going to trigger some people. And also, some of those people that you trigger might then also become your clients when they hang around long enough and drink in what you're offering. So I just want to speak to that being a part of it, because it also matures us in our leadership and our capacity to, again, can you hold a space where maybe you receive some of the most powerful feedback you've ever received, that's so deeply validating and affirming, and in the same day receive something that feels really dark and sticky? Aquarius says hold both, because it's all here to serve you. It's all here to season you. Sure, the loving, beautiful, affirmative reflections have been so nurturing for my soil as a leader. But you know what has really actually tapped me into my power and my knowingness and my divine right, where I claim I have a right to show up on YouTube and talk about these things and coach and be a leader and a guide, is in the moments where something has been reflected to me that's cracked me open and broken my heart, and I've had to fucking choose myself. And I know that to be true for some of the folks who are watching here. And if that's true for you, give me a hell yes or a heaven yes or whatever you want in the comments, because that is such a shared experience amongst earth angels and light workers. Like, yes, of course, the praise and the celebration gives levity to our wings, but so does the drag down, the cracking open, and the returning to the soil, because then it is part of our momentum to surge and rise upwards. It activates our conviction, right? It activates our courage. It activates our divine right. Getting a little angry, getting a little pissed off, the animal feeling a little backed into the corner. Sometimes that's the energy that we need in order to rise like the phoenix, which is a card that we pulled last week. So I know it's a simple meditation, but just like breathing into, this is all here to serve me. This is all here to serve me. This is all here to serve me. And when we allow our heart to like situate into that vibration, that's when we get the messages. That's when the divine solutions come through. That's when that relationship pours in, because we've shifted our perspective and consciousness. Like, oh, this is here to serve me. Okay, if this is here to serve me, I'm just going to trust this, even if there's part of my humanity that wants to scream and say, fuck this right now. If this is here to serve me, I'm going to meet it as such. And then I'm going to trust that when I meet that, when I really embrace my current circumstances, it is from that internal embrace that I actually have the resource to create change. Jamie says, my kids are watching with me right now, and say hello, Riveted, and say hello. Oh, I'm so glad, Jamie. Hi, ladies. How are you doing? Welcome, witches. I know that you're very magical and mystical, and I look forward to meeting you one day. And check out my rainbow necklace that my 7-year-old friend Asa made for me for my birthday. There's also glow-in-the-dark beads. It's very cool. So just wanted to share that with you. I've also got my butterfly earrings on and my lion earrings on for courage, and we are in it. Okay, so our third card, the tongue. So we got the lion, the inner beast we've recently faced, the cracking open, the clearing, the alchemy, the transmutation, the slowing down, our plans getting obliterated, our blueprints getting rewired, this like fall to our knees in full ecstatic grief meets bliss to allow the light of source to shine in. And then the teeth coming through as the anomaly, the part of our own unique expression that we're scared of. And maybe for our ancestors has been repressed for centuries, that we're shining forward now. So can we also let it make sense that fear gets sparked? One of my mentors, Des Davis, who was on here earlier, says, don't act confused. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your time acting confused. It's the curiosity that leads to compassion. So there's a difference between like the why, I'm so confused, and energy of Aquarius, the investigator, the inquisitor. Why? Curiosity from a texture of compassion, from a texture of understanding, like, okay, this fear is not just mine. It belongs to a lineage. What is this? How am I, as a channel and a transmitter, being invited to work with this? And then what's my heart got to say about this? The tongue, how to integrate that part of the self with compassion. So how can we integrate the fact that we're literally being transformed from the inside out, being called deeper into our purpose work, being shown parts of ourselves that we're scared of, being called to take really like not even courageous action necessarily, but being called to come to courageous conclusions that lead to the action eventually in its own timing. But I'm getting this energy of like facing the beast, seeing the teeth, and then now we're in the tongue, how to integrate that part of the self with compassion. There's almost like this investigative energy that we're in this midwinter. And it's not necessarily like act on this, act on this, act on this. It's the gift of spending time in the investigation so that our action come spring is coming from a place of clarity. Not to say that we're not acting right now, but I just really want to point to the power of investigation, to the power of having a period of doing research. Like even if we were writing a paper, right? Before we actually start writing the paper, there's a period of gathering research. And I find as a neurodivergent person, as I'm gathering my research, I'm also simultaneously working on the project because my brain wants to be activated in 25 places at once. And so work with that template in whatever way resonates for you, but really claim your divine right to investigate. And then our ultimate sort of like detective investigator. I'm seeing like that little like lens on a lens a detective would use to kind of like scan some fine print and research. Like that's our heart. That's our heart, not the ego, because the ego is going to want to pick apart everything and then make things mean something. Like, oh, because this thing is crumbling in my life right now, that means that it's because I am this way. And it can feel really like this, versus like the heart's like, oh, this is what's happening right now. I'm surveying, I'm investigating, but ultimately I'm rooted in there's always a solution and there's always a way to create alchemy. Nothing is fixed. Every block is a portal. So how in my investigation am I shifting my perspective through the heart? So the tongue is offering us how to integrate that part of the self with compassion. Getting my cosmic dancer deck for this one. How to integrate that part of the self with compassion. It's interesting. I'm thinking about like the tongue and its connection to the digestive tube and our guts, and the way that as we're integrating, it's also a process of digesting. So what cosmic dancer card, how are we being invited to move in the digesting of this information that's coming forward for us, not just in this drip, but what's been coming forward for us in our lives? Like, how can we digest all of this? It's been feeling like a lot. Yeah. Like, I feel like there's just so much getting like purified at this time. And I've definitely been meeting some energy of overwhelm. And so just want to ask that this card, for anyone else that's feeling that way, provides some guidance on how we can move with that energy of, wow, there's just like so much in this pile of compost right now. Like, where do I even start? Like, there's a pile of laundry. Where do I even start? First, let's start with our breath. And now let's see how we're being invited to integrate. Find your motivation. So remembering our why. Why did we start this healing in the first place? Why did we start the work of personal development in the first place? Why did we have a desire to self-realize in the first place? Why did we start walking this path in the first place? What was the original seed of your intention to do that? I invite you to connect to that through the heart, translate that in the heart, and then see your hand connected through your arm, connected up to your heart, all of this light pulsing through, and translate that onto your piece of paper. Why did you start your healing journey, your self-realization journey in the first place? What was your motivation? And it's remembering that part, remembering that moment, and also like remembering where we were when we started. Sometimes it can be nice to be like, especially if we're in this energy of I'm not there yet, or gosh, I wish I was so much farther along, to reach back and be like, whoa, where did I even start? And then based on that, where am I now? And what was my initial intent? What was my initial motivation? And then I'm getting this energy of like, as you've been on your journey, like how has that intention and motivation shifted over time? I'm also receiving in the importance of an intention and the importance of remembering our why when we're in the depths of our healing work, when we're in the depths of retrieving and reclaiming ourselves, when we're in the depths of cracking open, to remember I am doing this so that I can, for example, become more love. I wanted to embody and emanate a feeling state of love. And that's why I started my healing journey. That's just what's coming forward for me in this moment. I wanted to feel love in my body, and I wanted to share love in the world, and I wanted to inspire people, and I wanted to feel inspired, and I wanted to share how I was inspired. And so if that was my initial motivation in those moments of feeling completely cracked open and defeated, when I remember that, I remember that this too, this shit coming forward is part of the original prayer, and it's the necessary part of the alchemy that allows me to arrive closer to that prayer. We need material for spell work, right? And if all spell work is based on intention, then to integrate the parts now that are kind of coming forward and getting churned up, that's like all of the material for the spell that we're doing. And as we're doing the spell, we got to remember the intention. We got to remember the formula so that we don't get lost in the material. So that we don't get lost in the purging. So that in the purging, we're not focused on what's purging. We are focused on our intention, and we have this inner agreement that this purging is a response to our intention. This purging is a response to our prayer. This purging, this cracking open is a sign that the divine and our higher selves are listening and are there and are guiding and stewarding us forward. Kate says motivation to feel better, to learn how to actually love myself, to know my purpose. Yes. Thank you, Kate. I resonate so deeply with that. So the tongue, how to integrate that part of the self with compassion. To remember, this is why we started in the first place. So as we're integrating the anomaly, as we're integrating our uniqueness and our multidimensionality, and it's bringing up some stuff and it's bringing up some fear. Can I be this unique? Can I be this big? Can I be this loud? Can I be this vibrant? Can I be this rebellious? Can I really say this thing? When that comes forward and we start to collapse in fear around it, the tongue is saying, remember your motivation. Yes, you can. And a card that came forward as a collective card for 2023 is make mistakes. And in that process, it's an experiment. And sometimes you might make mistakes. And sometimes there may be something that comes forward, or a way that you're wild or uncontained in the exploration and in the process of discovering. And like, can we embrace that too? Can we embrace that too? And the energy of this fixed sign that's kind of like bringing us into our unique code, our individual code with Aquarius. Can we, from that motivation and from that anchor, also allow ourselves to spiral open and to speak out and to speak up and to share and create in ways that bring us to the edge of our comfort zone? Because that's where growth lies, right? So in that fear, we're remembering our why. Like, I'm doing this right now. This scares the shit out of me. And I'm doing this right now because here's the intention. And this is just part of the spell. And maybe there's an invitation to, when you really ask yourself about your motivation, maybe there's an invitation to also sort of reflect on, like, what's the spell of your life? Like, what are you here to do? How are you here to make magic? And if you were to like break down the spell that you're like, the sort of overarching spell of your purpose work and why you're here and what you're doing, like, what would that spell be in a sentence? Or I'm even seeing a formula like this plus this equals this. Whatever's coming forward for you, it's like, what's your spell? What's your higher self spell? And then connect that to your motivation, connect that to your intention, and then let that be your blueprint for moving forward in this Aquarius season. Prompt 4, the purr. The part of you that needs more self-love. I'm feeling this starseed oracle again. What's the part of like our starseed multidimensional anomaly self that needs more self-love? Kate texted me last week and was like, wow, I am just continuously like humbled by the magic of card pulling. That wasn't your exact words, Kate, but that's how I'm like recalling the energy of the message. And like, I just felt that like shoot from the base of my spine to the crown of my head again. I will never get sick of magic and cards and the way that they just mirror and help and show and guide and are here to help us. I love divination tools so much. So just like a moment of gratitude for the cards, because what's coming forward for the part of you that needs more self-love, you are not for everyone. You are not for everyone. You are not for everyone. I am not for everyone. You are not for everyone. That person over there may not be for you. We are not for everyone, and we don't need to be. Some animals in the wild don't even get along. Some animals eat other animals. Like, we can embrace a little bit more wildness, a little bit more anomaly in the way that we create. And if you don't resonate, find a space where you do. And if someone's not resonating with you, that's okay. You can keep resonating. Resonance is vibration. You can keep vibrating your unique code, and may that person go find a space where they do resonate. We no longer need to morph and change and become 10,000 different versions of ourselves in order to be palatable. The age of Aquarius is literally calling us into the opposite code. And it brings up a lot, right? Like we really get in touch with that inner beast because it's scary. It's scary to admit that we're not for everyone. It is so vulnerable to like really hold like, some people are not going to get this. Some people are going to straight up disagree with this. Some people are going to get triggered by this. Some people are going to judge me for this. And if you can hold that, you're also allowing those people to be in their sovereignty, which is like the coolest part of it, right? Like not only do we get to like then just like do our thing, but we're then also honoring other people's sovereignty because we don't all have to be the same, which is like a huge message that seems to be coming forward on this drip. So you're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness and face your true north. You are not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness and face your true north. I love this. This is the part of you that needs more self-love. Let's read this one from the Starseed Oracle. I'm just interested to see what they offer as a description of this one, since this energy has just been so activated on this drip. You're not for everyone. Page 132. Also, I cannot wait to channel an oracle deck. I really feel like that's coming. So just speaking that out. Okay. Embrace your weirdness. Face your true north. The world is filled with people who, no matter what you do, just won't like you. But it's also filled with those who will love you fiercely. They are your people. You're not for everyone, and that's okay. Talk to the people who can hear you. Don't waste your precious time and gifts trying to convince others of your value. They won't ever want what you're selling. Don't try to convince them to walk alongside you. You'll be wasting both your time and theirs and will likely inflict unnecessary wounds that will take precious time to heal. I know that's right. Hashtag healing from codependency. You're not for them and they're not for you. Politely wave them on and continue on your way. Bless them. Bless them. On the way out the door, resentment is also an energy that imprints into our vibration and blocks us from the energy of creative flow. Sharing your path with someone is a sacred gift. It is such a sacred gift to share this path with you, to relate, to understand, to have these like common threads. Because I don't know about you, but I really felt alone for a lot of my life. And I really felt misunderstood. And I really felt like there was like a lot of judgment coming at me because I've always been interested in being weird and different and going against the grain and going against the trend. And I've quite literally always identified as a rebel. Like I was calling myself a witch when I was 5 years old. And so this energy like feels so real in my body. And I find that many of the clients I've had the honor of walking with for years and those who are just arriving now, it's like we share this experience of like knowing our magic, 12-12 on the clock, knowing our magic from a young age, identifying as kind of unique and different, wanting to do things our own way. And I really and truly believe that is our star seed spirit just pulsing through us. So sharing your path with someone is a sacred gift. Don't cheapen it by rolling yours in the wrong direction. Keep facing your true north. And if you never looked up your north node in astrology and you have your birth time, that could be a nice little investigation to go into in response to this devotional drip. And one of my friends, Megan McFadden, Megan Rising on Instagram, she's offering astrology charts for 2023. And they're like a great price and honestly so good. I've worked with her so many times. She's also a dear friend. Highly recommend her work. Megan_Rising on Instagram. But we were talking about north nodes this summer and she was like, one of my astrology teachers was talking about the North Node as this energy of like when you're facing the sunrise, like you're being invited to rise into your North Node expression. My North Node is in Sagittarius. So when I'm really in alignment with that, I find that I am going to the edges and then coming back in and like in the energy of Sagittarius as the archer and shooting for the goals and saying the things and lighting things up and transmuting things and having fun while doing it. And I could go on and on. When I'm in alignment with that, I really feel connected to my higher self, because that's our North Node is calling us where we're going. It's sort of like the main objective of our soul's assignment. So highly recommend you looking into your North Node. And then also keep facing your true north. What's your true north? What's your highest value? For me, deeply connected to Sagittarius, it's authenticity. I like really will crumble. If it doesn't feel authentic to me, if I create something and it does not feel authentic, I will burn that shit to the ground and I will build it again. And that's because it's my main value. And if something doesn't feel authentic to me, I will say no to it, even if in some capitalist system, it's the thing that we've been programmed and told is going to like move us forward. I will say no to that shit, because it's not, if it's not in alignment with my values and my authenticity, I'm not interested. That's my true north. What is your highest value? What's your true north? And again, all of us are going to have a different one because we're that unique, right? Pulling this card means you're being called to embrace your uniqueness, to own your weirdness, to let the world see who you really are, to revel in your multifaceted, multidimensional nature, to not dim your light according to who is in your presence, to not dim your light according to who is in your presence, to own all parts of yourself so that your people, the ones who are the same kind of weird as you, can recognize you when your paths cross. It's like two animals recognizing each other in the wild, right? How can you embrace your weirdness and not care so much about what other people think is the prompt for this. And this is the part of you that needs more self-love. So maybe this week you have an intention to like really adorn yourself in a way that lets your freak flag fly. Like today I wore 2 different patterns. I've shown my necklace on here. I got 3 different necklaces on. I got 2 different earrings, and I'm getting ready to like make some content this week that's a little weird and different and like really follow my gut pulse around like how I want to show up on social media. And like, I don't want to use the fucking trending sounds, and I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. That's like honestly why I haven't been showing up on Instagram, because I am exhausted by the same old, and I'm not a fucking machine. And I refuse to be one. And I refuse to like plug my energy into something and it just like pumps out of me and tells me how I have to do in order to make the algorithm happy. None of that shit. So whether you're a content creator, or maybe you're a parent, or maybe you own a business too, or maybe you're going on vacation, or maybe you're traveling, or maybe you're starting a new job, or maybe you're a teacher, or however you're showing up in your life, what's one way you can bring a little bit more of your weirdness and unique flair to whatever spaces that you're showing up in, whatever spaces that you're creating in over this next week and also over this next month of Aquarius season? How is your weirdness being called out? How are you being called to come out of a box that someone else maybe put you in, and then you made an agreement that you were going to stay in there? What agreement needs to shift so you can bust out of that shit? Where do you need to reroute into your motivation to like really show up in your uniqueness so that you can let your freak flag fly? What part of the creative wheel have you not tapped into yet? What perspective have you not viewed your situation from yet? Where can you let in the light of inspiration? And what does your heart have to say? Like, what would make your heart so excited? Like, my heart got so excited when I like put on this necklace this morning and these different earrings and like was getting ready to show up on the drip, like in my weirdness and my wildness. What makes your heart happy? What brings levity to your heart? What feels like play in spiritual practice? How does your inner child get activated in the mundane? Where can you bring more magic to the mundane? Like, it's not just another Monday where I'm showing up on the drip. It's another brand new day with a brand new transmission and a brand new energy. And I'm a brand new person. We wake up new every day. We get birthed into this world a new being every day. how do you want to be today? And how do you want to set your little sort of gestation space up of the winter so that come spring 2023, come summer 2023, you've set yourself up to shine in your unique code? The main, what should you be proud of? What should you be proud of? So we have the inner beast you've recently faced, the part of the beast that you're afraid of, how to integrate that part of the self with compassion, and then the part of you that needs more self-love. What should you be proud of? What can we acknowledge in terms of, I'm feeling this Magdalene deck. What should we be proud of? What can bring us, I'm feeling like pride and as like a texture of self-acceptance specifically. I love that only one card is coming forward for most of these prompts, so we can really focus in. Pride is coming forward, like holding this texture of self-acceptance and like self-embrace and like higher self retrieval and integration. This is a part of us that's already alive and activated that we can resource to help us continue to meet what feels like a beast, what feels a little scary, what feels a little intimidating. I'm just late every time. Universal Christ. The main, what should you be proud of? Universal Christ. So this card points to Christ consciousness, which is to also say Buddha consciousness or enlightened consciousness or higher self-consciousness. It's the aspect of us that's never forgotten who it is that we actually are as an expression of source. I believe that Jesus was an ascended master of many ascended masters and beings of light who have come to planet Earth, 12:20 on the clock. I also believe that you are an ascended master that is here on planet Earth to shine and share your unique codes of life on behalf of the heart of humanity and on behalf of your own heart. So in this energy of pride and finding our motivation and remembering that we're unique, I'm feeling called to invite you to reflect on how it is that you already show up as an earth angel and a light worker. Like, how are you already courageous? How are you already letting your freak flag shine? How are you already sort of in your unique code? How do you already show up in service? How do you already shine light? I'm seeing a list of like 3 to 5 ways that you already show up in your higher self essence so that you can really own and claim, like, yeah, I do that. And that is a way that I already show up. So based on that, I'm going to let that be my fuel so that in this next card, the crown, an aspect of my true and radiant self can emerge. I'm already doing all these things. And if I'm already doing all this stuff, if I'm already showing up in my light, how do I want to show up now? The crown is asking, prompt 6, an aspect of your true and radiant self now emerging. So from our higher self-consciousness, from the source light within us, from this compassionate, benevolent witness that lives inside of us in all moments, seated inside of the throne of our hearts. From that texture, what aspect of our true and radiant self is now emerging, is now sort of gestating and maybe swimming around in the soil and starting to like pop up and show itself, 12:22 on the clock? Who is now emerging within us? What aspect of our true and radiant self is now emerging? Again, I'm just feeling this cosmic dancer deck. Okay. Have a few cards. We had this last week, master the dance, our self-mastery being called forward, offer, the way that we offer, the way that we are in offering, coming forward, feeling, coming forward. We got a lot of deep feelers here in the blood, bone, and honey space, and then come back to center. An aspect of your true and radiant self now emerging. Master the dance, offer, feel, and come back to center. It's interesting. I sort of feel like these are sort of cues as to how we can invite the parts of us that are emerging forward. Like if there's a part of ourselves that we want to birth, it's going to require us to master the dance of our heart and our ego, right? And like defer to the heart. It's going to require us to remember that our life is an offering and we are an offering and our work is an offering and any expression of our soul is an offering. And we are the ultimate offering. We are the ultimate gift. And then in our feeling, we have to feel, pointing to the heart, right? We have to feel what's budding. We have to give ourselves time and space for our feelings to actually take up space, because when we deny our feelings, we're going to keep moving in the same trajectory, or we're going to keep working against the current of the master within us, of the ascended master within us. But when we allow ourselves to feel what's emerging, to remember that we're the offering, to remember that we are living ascended masters, like self-realizing ourselves in real time, then whoever and whatever is waking up within us at every moment has like the recipe, the formula in place in order to actually emerge. And then this comeback to center card is interesting because I think anytime we want to birth an aspect of our higher self expression, it actually requires us to go so deeply inward, to come back to center, to come back to the heart, to feel, to remember ourselves as an offering, to remember ourselves as an ascended master. And then from that place of potentiality, like talk about like a ripe space for birth, then we've actually created this like cosmic womb space within us to birth ourselves forward. And since this is pointing to an aspect of our true and radiant self, like I'm really feeling specifically, like, especially from this master, the dance card coming first, it's like the ascended master within us is emerging. Like just to put it, if we want to just like synthesize it, the ascended master within us is now emerging. And that ascended master is willing to go to the depths of darkness to retrieve the brightest light. And so inside of that, we're being invited to master that journey of going to the underworld to retrieve and then coming back as an integrated self. We're being invited to master the process of emotionally releasing and giving ourselves time and space to tap into the wisdom that always lives within the feeling tone. We're being invited to remember that we are here to be an offering. We can give up our lives as an offering to love. We can allow our bodies to be an offering to love. And if it's hard to conjure that motivation from a place of self-love, if we're just in a place of like, I can't even like connect to doing this on behalf of my own heart right now, I'm just feeling like so disconnected, then that offering energy is like, okay, I'm not even doing this for me. Like I'm doing this for love. Like I'm doing this for the divine. Like, may I give myself up as an offering? And that's what the ascended masters do. Like they choose to ascend so that they can guide us from the higher realms. And I fully believe that there are very real ascended masters around us at all time. I mean, I know they're here right now because I call them in on every drip and anything I ever do for my work. I call in those ascended masters. I call in the ascended master of my higher self, and I can just feel them imprinting, guiding, helping me pull cards, giving me information that I've never even heard before to then translate and transmit from my heart and from the channel of my body into this space. And we all have that capacity. No one is more connected to that than other people. Certain people are just more self-realized in their self-worth to actually claim that they're that multidimensional and can live from that space. And if you're watching this drip right now, live or on the replay, I really invite you to claim the ascended master that's emerging within you now, and to relate to your higher self as the ascended master within you. I'm like so fucking glad we're making that connection on the drip today. Like, you are an ascended master, and your higher self is an ascended master, and you are here to steward your own consciousness into that self mastery as you master the dance, so that you can, from a place of realization in real time, guide others, whether that be personally or professionally, whether you make money for doing that or you don't, you just show up on the planet. Your service work, your purpose work is not connected to how much money you make doing it. It's connected to how many lives you impact. And then the money is just a response to that impact, right? The income is a response to the impact that you can claim if you want that. But it's not necessary to validate the fact that you are an ascended master living on this planet, here to bring light to your own heart and the heart of humanity. Last card, the roar, how to honor and embody that truth. Jamie is saying yes to channeling a BBH Oracle deck. Thank you for your encouragement and celebration, Jamie. Like, I really have been feeling it recently. I love pulling cards so much, and I just think that would be so special. And I love reading books, but I do find for my neurodivergency, like, for example, this Divine Feminine Oracle has been such an incredible tool for me over the last 5 years, 4 years, whatever, to connect to these different Divine Feminine archetypes that maybe I would need to read, like, I forget how many cards are in this deck, but maybe I would need to read 55 different books in order to, like, connect to all of these archetypes. But now they're just in this beautiful oracle created by Megan Watterson, who's a feminist theologian, with these beautiful descriptions. And I think that oracle decks and tarot decks can be really incredible divination tools. So it would be such a expression of my ascended master identity and higher self concept, and how I feel called to show up in the world, to birth an oracle deck. So I'm really calling that in. And what are you calling in? Like, what are y'all calling in? What do you want to create? What is this conversation around you being an ascended master stirring alive within you? How to honor and embody that truth. And we're right at our time for the drip, where we're going to go shift into our higher self meditation. So just one card, please. Parvati, the goddess of devotion. Oh, 2 cards. Parvati, the goddess of devotion, and Ariadne, the mistress of the labyrinth. Ariadne says, my soul knows the way, and the only way out is through. Parvati, the goddess of devotion, says, I am a love that doesn't leave. When I commit to love, my soul evolves. So we're being we're being asked to honor the journey as spiralic. So it's not linear, right? It's not linear. And we can still be living ascended masters and also have a part of our human consciousness that's in a state of true underdevelopment in response to trauma. So if there's a part of you that you really feel like you're developing, that's not in contrast with your wisdom, your capacity, the fact that you are your higher self, and the fact that you are an ascended master. I thought for a while, when I first started coaching, a lot of things, what would come up for me is like, I need to heal this within myself before I can. And what I think is true of the spiralic feminine path is that you can be healing in real time while also showing and guiding. And sometimes when you're healing something in real time, and then you're being invited to show up and walk with other people through that, you're not like disconnected from the experience. Like, it's awake and alive within you, and you're feeling your way through versus intellectualizing. Well, when you meet this thing on your path, this is how you get out of the box. And I think light workers and ascended masters, I think all of us as light workers and ascended masters, and those of us who identify as that especially, are brought to these points in our journey so that, like, when we are walking with someone else through that, there's this place of relatability. So just really honor that as a part of your student and teacher sort of dance that's always happening. And that kind of points to that master the dance card, right? Like, we are always students and we are always teachers. And can we learn to be in that dance of student teacher in the same freaking container? Like, in this drip today, I have felt I have felt the activation of my inner teacher. I've also felt the activation of my inner student. And I actually like teach and guide and coach and mentor from that texture and consciousness specifically. I never want to show up acting like I know, because a lot of times when I'm sitting with my clients one-on-one and we're working through things, like it's not about like knowing the answer or knowing how to guide them. It's about listening. It's about listening to what's actually being said and then helping and supporting and providing language and new lenses and perspectives from a place of listening. And if the only way out is through, then we're going to have to feel our way through, versus Aquarius can get kind of stuck in the intellectualizing their way through. So really let that star card energy of sticking your foot in the water come forward as you're embodying the truth that you are a living ascended master. And then the goddess of devotion, Parvati, I am a love that doesn't leave. When I commit to love, my soul evolves. Well, there's our motivation right there. And evolution and metamorphosis and transformation do not look like rainbows, butterflies, and roses. It looks like shit and compost and blood and broken hearts and being reshaped like clay and surrendering and opening and snot and fluids and like life. It looks like life. It looks like life. And it looks like death as a part of life. And so if we cannot judge the current state of things and just really root into our devotion and remember that evolution looks like this, then I think that's going to meet any energy of discouragement or fear or shame or guilt within us and activate us in our conviction to take a breath, surrender to our hearts as the ultimate transmitter, and remember that we have wings to fly above the situation and see it from a new perspective, so then we can swoop back down and work with what's in front of us as a part of what it is that we want to build within ourselves, grow within ourselves, and express from the inside out. Thank you for joining us today on this episode of The Drip, Living Ascended Master and Higher Self You. If you'd like to join us in our Higher Self meditation, I'm going to go hop on our meditation Zoom link right now. And I will see you next time on episode 37 of The Devotional Drip. If this drip supported you, please like, comment, subscribe to our channel. Let us know what was awakened for you. Feel free to also send me a private love note with what was coming up for you. And if you're currently looking for support one-on-one, you can check out bloodboneandhoney.com and click the coaching tab to see our available higher self readings and higher self embodiment sessions and higher self embodiment mentorship containers. Many blessings, dear one. I'll see those of you who are in the Blood, Bone, and Honey pot on our Zoom link. Namaste.